one of your blocks is loneliness from not really being in a category, which I want you to talk about because I find it interesting and kind of relatable.
It's and I think that was all kind of part of some of that insecurity that I had at that age too. And honestly, like even at 43, like it takes me sometimes a little bit of pause to continue to write the playbook for myself as I go into hopefully the next 25 years of my career and in my life. It's a weird thing when you're super successful and also such an anomaly to people. Music journalism did not know what to make of me. They weren't writing about me at all. I was the #1 selling male artist of that year, no Best New Artist Grammy nomination. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like this alien that was like really doing extraordinarily well. And at the same time, there was no club that I could be a part of, at all. There was no table that I felt like I sat at. And so I felt...
Which, again, if you're listening or watching and you're like, world's tiniest violin, it's still the most basic human need is belonging.
Right. Yeah.
And you're sort of like, you think you're doing a thing that would make you belong.
Totally true. Yeah, you're entering the music business, which is a community, and you're
a very supportive, wonderful community.
The warmest.
He's still shocked.
It's yeah. I mean, but coming from theater, that actually can be very warm and fuzzy. It was lonely, and so of course, it's like tiny violin. I had no reason to complain, and yet I felt so shitty, and I wanted other friends in music. I wanted to enjoy having, because it's no small thing to make it either. Like it is such a grind and such every star aligning to all of a sudden have 5 million. Oh my God, your debut album just hit 5 million. Like, it's an enormous accomplishment.
Yeah.
And yet, because of that isolation and because of that kind of like, good job, kid. Enjoy it.
And also the people that you are celebrating it with, I'm assuming label people or manager, whatever, they're all 15 years older than you.
Yeah, exactly. As were a lot of the fans for me at that point too. So, there was no place to celebrate. There was nowhere to go to feel like, I would high five my manager and my parents,
Yeah.
And I'd go out to dinner with a couple of my high school friends and they'd be like, hey man, that's all, 5 million. That's cool. We'd go to Mel's Diner and have a, celebratory burger. That was my little world. I was never invited to any of the big music parties. I was never invited to the award shows. I was never invited to any of the stuff where you think now if you're one of those artists that sells that, you're one of the top selling artists of the year, that would be unheard of.
Yeah.
But that was just the way it was. It was just one of those things where it was happening in a total vacuum. And that vacuum also happened to be 15,000 people in an arena every night. But it was still a vacuum. And so...
Well, I want to stop and see it from your point of view, which again, it sounds like, only you got to do arenas, poor thing. But it must have been and then you get off and it's just crickets.
Totally. That's what it was.
And you're kind of like, I don't even know. No one's going to care.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one's going to empathize with this
of course
so-called problem.
No. So I got real good at isolating my feelings of I would joke that I would become like Vicky the Robot. Remember the show Small Wonder? And Vicky the Robot would go into the closet and just unplug.
Get in your cabinet. See ya.
It's just I'd be like, thank you, Ohio,
Yep.
And then it was pew, and I would just it was just the transition from the stage back to the tour bus or the dressing room was as if it was just boop. Anyway.
And you're 20.
Yeah, I mean 20. Yeah, I was 20 on my first tour. Yeah, so
or 21 or whatever, a young man.
Thank God I didn't then take that loneliness and that isolation and then turn it to self-medicating in unhealthy ways. Cocaine, yeah, cocaine. Yeah. Well, luckily I didn't have anybody around because I had no friends. I had nobody around me to offer me drugs.
One of the upsides of having no friends.
Of loneliness. All I got was
easy to stay
mini
clean.
Fridge diet Coke cans.
What did you imbibe? What did you sort of video games?
Yeah, honestly, video games were one of them. I would stay up all night and just play. It's so funny. Back then, I had to route the modem of my hotel room,
Yep.
Phones into my gigantic laptop, and I'd get lost online. I'd get lost in like online games. I would like create like the Sims worlds and just like and video games even now are like still like a huge escape for me. Like truly, like if I've had a long day in the studio or I'm just kind of feeling those things, I'll just like dive into MLB The Show or Call of Duty or something like that, and I can lock in. And that's always been like a jacuzzi for my head. Like
I say that video games are like knitting for men.
It's
like crocheting for men.
That's incredible because my girlfriend goes through the same things, and her thing is crocheting and knitting. That's where she locks in, and we'll lock in together, and she'll crochet and I'll play Call of Duty.
And you're yelling the N-word, and you're awful. You transform into a truly terrible person. But the guys the guys love it.
I had to turn off the chat because that like it was undoing everything I was going into the game to do.
I feel like people would have been nice if they knew who you were.
Right.
They would have been very supportive. So you're playing video games and you're just sort of like this, and they're going, it's going great, Josh. And you're like, okay, cool.
And everybody around me who's making a fortune off of me is having the time of their lives because
they're doing cocaine.
And they are absolutely doing cocaine. They are having parties on the tour expense.
Yeah.
Because they have also lived many lives in this business, and they understand the magic of when somebody is hitting it and how incredible that is for the bottom line, for their success, for everything. So they have already they also don't have the same stakes personally. When you're in the front, it's personal. If somebody likes your music, doesn't like your music, you sell well, you don't sell well, it's your name on that billboard chart.
You can't deny being Josh Groban.
No.
They can say, I barely worked on that, or I went to one.
They can also they can work 10 artists at once.
Yep.
Hedge their bets.
Yep.
And so there's they don't get to understand the feeling of performing, and they don't ultimately, if you hit it, make as much or whatever it is. And there's all these pluses, of course, but they don't have to take the personal hit. That was indigestion, not emotion. The personal hit.
Speak for yourself.
As well. And so then you have to. It took me like 10 years of doing this before I could also like get out of the dressing room and join the party and like enjoy the life of this life. Why
did it take so long?
Because I thought that if I let myself enjoy that stuff, it was also like letting my guard down, and something would go amiss. And so it took me a long time to kind of stop being so kind of on and off, on stage and off.
Hey, did you like that? Did you like that? Yeah, did you like it though? You want more? Don't want to work? Would rather watch videos of me grab-assing with people? First of all, go up here to subscribe, and then go up here to watch more clips. This is like when the weatherman says there's a high pressure system coming in. I'm not really used to the green screen.